Dear students, good morning. So we have completed atomic radius, covalent radius, and the metallic radius. The next one is ionic radius. So what is the definition of ionic radius? Consider neutral lithium. Lithium has 3 protons and 3 electrons. So outside the nucleus there are 2 cells for the lithium. Out of 3 electrons, 2 electrons present in first cell and 1 electron is present in the second cell. Okay. So this is the electronic arrangement in neutral lithium, 1s2, 2s1. First cell has 2 electrons, the second cell has only 1 electron. Lithium is highly unstable. So what is its aim? It has to achieve the electronic configuration of its nearest noble gas. So there are 2 nearest noble gases. One is helium, another one is neon. When you take modern periodic table, lithium is present in between helium and neon. Helium with atomic number 2, neon with atomic number 10. So these 2 are the nearest noble gases of lithium. So lithium should have the tendency of achieving electronic configuration of either helium or neon. To attain the electronic configuration of helium, lithium has to lose an electron. So electronic configuration of helium is 1s2. To achieve the electronic configuration of helium, lithium should lose an electron. And the electronic configuration of neon is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. To achieve the electronic configuration of neon, lithium has to gain 7 more electrons, isn't it? Already 3 electrons present. When it gains 7 electrons, it will have the electronic configuration like a neon. So lithium has 2 possibilities. Either it can achieve the configuration of helium or neon. But the easiest one is attaining the electronic configuration of helium. Gaining 7 electrons will make problems within the atom. Only 3 protons present, but 10 electrons cannot be held easily. So lithium will not gain 7 electrons to become like a neon. It will be a difficult one. So lithium has the tendency of losing an electron. It can become easily lithium plus. Lithium loses an electron easily. It attains the electronic configuration of helium. So it needs stability so that it loses an electron. So 1 electron is lost. Now the distance between the center of the nucleus and the outermost cell of an electron of an ion is called ionic radius. Okay. So what is the definition of ionic radius? Distance between the center of the nucleus and the outermost cell of electron of an ion. This is not a neutral lithium, it is a lithium cation. Now this radius is called ionic radius. Okay. The distance between the center of the nucleus and the outermost cell of electron of an ion is called ionic radius. When we take noble gases, they are stable in nature. A single atom can exist, so atomic radius can be calculated. When you take unstable atoms like hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, they are existing in the form of covalent molecules, diatomic molecules. So from these diatomic molecules, we can calculate a covalent radius. Internuclear distance will be divided by 2. We get covalent radius of hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, and so on. When we take metals, internuclear distance will be calculated. We divide it by 2, we get metallic radius. Then how can we calculate the ionic radius? We consider sodium, it is unstable. To attain the electronic configuration of neon, sodium loses an electron. Consider neutral fluorine, it is unstable. To attain the electronic configuration of neon, it gains an electron. So we can say there is a transfer of electron from sodium to fluorine. Sodium has 11 electrons, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. Fluorine has 9 electrons, configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p5. Both the atoms are unstable in nature, so they need stability. So the nearest noble gas is neon. For both sodium and fluorine, the nearest noble gas is neon with atomic number 10, electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. So to achieve the electronic configuration of neon, sodium loses an electron. The electron in the 3s orbital will be lost, and this electron will be gained by fluorine. So fluorine needs one more electron to attain the electronic configuration of neon. So one electron is transferred from sodium to fluorine. This is transfer of electron. It leads to the formation of a cation as well as anion. We know that oppositively charged ions will have an attraction. It is called electrovalent bond or ionic bond. So now the compound is sodium fluoride ionic compound or electrovalent compound. So two unstable atoms are coming closer. To attain the nearest noble gas configuration, there is a transfer of electron from sodium to fluorine. It becomes a cation, fluorine becomes an anion. Oppositively charged ions will have an attraction. It is called ionic bond or electrovalent bond. Now in this case, how will you calculate the radius of sodium cation and how will you calculate the radius of fluoride anion? If it is a covalent molecule, we find the internuclear distance. It will be divided by 2. We get the covalent radius of chlorine. But now the bond is not a covalent bond. It is an ionic bond. So when you take an ionic compound, how will you find the radius of an ion? For that, we follow the method called Pauling's method. So Pauling is the name of the scientist. He proposed a method of finding the radius of a cation as well as radius of an anion. Pauling assumed that the ionic compounds are considered in which each ion will have the noble gas configuration. We take sodium fluoride, as I told, sodium to attain the electronic configuration of neon, it loses an electron and that electron is gained by fluorine. So both the ions, sodium cation and fluoride anion, having the noble gas configuration. So this is the configuration of noble gas neon. And you can take potassium chloride. Potassium is a highly unstable nature. It has the electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1. Totally 19 electrons present. We take a chlorine which is unstable, 17 electrons present, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p5. So both the configurations indicating that they are unstable in nature. To attain the electronic configuration of its nearest noble gas, argon. Argon is the nearest noble gas for potassium as well as chlorine. The electronic configuration of argon is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. So stable electronic configuration of argon. To attain this electronic configuration, an electron will be transferred from potassium to chlorine. So this electron in the 4s orbital will be moved towards the chlorine. So transfer of electron takes place. Potassium becomes cation, chlorine becomes anion. Okay. So now K plus and Cl minus attains the electronic configuration of argon. So Pauling assumed that when you take an ionic compound, both the cations and anions will have the electronic configuration of its nearest noble gases, right? And this is the electronic configuration of noble gas argon. This is the electronic configuration of noble gas neon. So in an ionic compound, both cation as well as anion are closely packed. When you take sodium fluoride, cation as well as anion are closely packed. So in 12th standard we will study. Okay. So how the ions are placed in the lattice. So both ions will be closely packed. We can find the internuclear distance. So according to Pauling's method, the internuclear distance between the cation and anion, C plus represents any one cation and A minus represents anion. Cation is an ion with a positive charge, anion is an ion with a negative charge. So D is the symbol of internuclear distance. This is representing the internuclear distance between the cation and anion is nothing but radius of cation plus radius of anion, isn't it? When you take sodium fluoride, this is radius of cation, this is radius of anion, and when you add it, you will get the internuclear distance. So this is equation number 1. So in Pauling's method, first assumption is when you take any ionic compound, the cations and anions will have the electronic configuration of its nearest noble gas. Next, when we find the internuclear distance, it will be equal to the sum of radius of cation and anion. The next point, what is the relationship between radius and effective nuclear charge? So last class we studied these two factors are inversely proportional to each other. When you take periods, left to right, atomic radius decreases, but effective nuclear charge increases, isn't it? So when you take second period elements, from lithium to neon, radius decreases. At the same time, effective nuclear charge increases because electrons are added in the same valence shell. So attraction between the nucleus and the electron will be more, size decreases. Electrons added in the same cell. So atomic radius or atomic size decreases from left to right. At the same time, shielding effect will not be predominant. Electrons added in the same cell, so that shielding effect will not be predominant. So effective nuclear charge increases. Lithium to beryllium, beryllium to boron, boron to carbon, like that. Size decreases, effective nuclear charge increases. So these two factors are inversely proportional to each other. You take a cation, its radius is inversely proportional to the effective nuclear charge of cation. You take it as equation 2. Then radius of anion is inversely proportional to the effective nuclear charge of anion. You take it as equation 3. So divide equations 2 by 3. So equation 2 is divided by 3. Radius of cation divided by radius of anion is equal to 1 by effective nuclear charge of cation divided by 1 by effective nuclear charge of anion. So this can be written as effective nuclear charge of anion divided by effective nuclear charge of cation. So this is equation number 4. So Pauling's method have given two important equations. Internuclear distance between the cation and anion is equal to the sum of radius of cation and radius of anion. Next, the ratio of radius of cation to the radius of anion is equal to the ratio of effective nuclear charge of anion to the effective nuclear charge of cation. So two important equations we have obtained. With the help of these two equations, we may find the radius of a cation as well as the radius of an anion. A problem is given in our book in page number 83. So the given ionic compound is sodium fluoride. We know that an electron is transferred from sodium to fluorine. Sodium becomes a cation, fluorine becomes a fluoride anion. Ionic bond exists between the ions. So we have to find the radius of Na plus cation and the radius of fluoride anion. For that we can apply the Pauling's method. So what is the first equation? Internuclear distance between the cation and anion is equal to the radius of cation plus radius of anion. This is first equation according to Pauling's method. This value is given in the question, 231 picometer. So its value is 231 picometer. What is the fourth equation? Radius of cation divided by radius of anion. The ratio of radius of cation to the radius of anion is equal to the ratio of effective nuclear charge of anion to the effective nuclear charge of cation. This is fourth equation. So internuclear distance value is given. With the help of that, we have to identify the radius of cation and the radius of anion. So to find the radius of cation and the radius of anion, first we need the effective nuclear charge value. So we have to find the effective nuclear charge for the last electron in cation as well as last electron in anion. So when you take neutral sodium, 11 electrons present, electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. But in sodium fluoride, an electron is transferred from sodium to fluorine. So its configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. So sodium becomes a sodium cation and it attains the electronic configuration of neon. What is the formula of effective nuclear charge? Effective nuclear charge is equal to atomic number minus screening constant. So atomic number of sodium is 11. Screening constant value can be calculated with the help of Slater's rule. So we take the last electron. Okay. Two electrons present in the first cell and 8 electrons present in the second cell. We fix the last electron and this attraction is shielded by electrons present in the second cell as well as electrons present in the first cell. So nth cell is nothing but second cell, isn't it? So according to Slater's rule, first we write the electronic configuration and we make the orbitals as a group. So we fix the last electron. In the nth cell, in the second cell, remaining we have 7 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 electrons present in the nth cell. Each electron is contributing the value 0.35 towards the screening constant. Then n minus 1 cell. So n minus 1 cell is first cell. It has 2 electrons. Each electron is contributing 0.85 as a value towards screening constant. .45 plus 1.70 so screening constant 4.15. What is the effective nuclear charge? Effective nuclear charge 6.85. The effective nuclear charge for the cation is, this is for a cation. Effective nuclear charge of a cation, here sodium cation, 6.85. Then you take anion. The neutral fluorine atom has the configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p5. So fluorine gained an electron from the sodium. When it becomes anion, its electronic configuration becomes the electronic configuration of neon. Okay. So we find the effective nuclear charge of anion, atomic number 9. Atomic number 9. Screening constant, the same calculation. Screening constant can be calculated with the help of Slater's rule. We select the last electron. So 7 electrons present in the nth cell. Each electron is contributing 0.35. 2 electrons present in the n-1 cell. It is contributing 0.85 as a value towards screening constant. So screening constant for fluoride anion, last electron in the fluoride anion, is 4.15. What is the effective nuclear charge of anion? 4.85. So we have calculated the effective nuclear charge of cation as 6.85. Effective nuclear charge of anion as 4.85. So in Pauling's method, the fourth equation is what? Radius of cation divided by radius of anion is equal to effective nuclear charge of anion, fluoride ion, 4.85. Effective nuclear charge of cation, Na plus, 6.85. When we divide this, the answer is 0.71. So radius of cation is equal to the radius of fluoride is moved into the right hand side. So 0.71 multiplied by radius of anion. We take it as equation number 5. Then what is the first equation according to Pauling's method? Internuclear distance between the cation and anion is 231 picometer is equal to radius of cation plus radius of anion. Instead of radius of cation, we may write it as 0.71 radius of fluoride. Add these two values. Okay. So radius of fluoride is the common factor. So remaining 0.71 plus 1. So 1.71 radius of fluoride. So we need the value of radius of anion, 231 divided by 1.71. So the answer is 135.1 picometer. I take it as equation 6. So from the equations of Pauling's method, we have calculated the radius of anion. Next, we have to find the radius of cation. Take equation 1, internuclear distance 231 picometer. We need the radius of cation. Radius of anion value is calculated as 135.1 picometer. So the radius of cation is equal to 231 minus 135.1. Answer is 95.9 picometer. So with the help of Pauling's method, we can calculate the radius of cation as well as radius of anion. If it is a covalent molecule, internuclear distance will be divided by 2. It is an easy method. For an ionic compound, we have to calculate the radius of cation and anion with the help of Pauling's method. So with this, first periodic property is over. Radius, isn't it? What is the first periodic property? Radius of an atom, of a metallic atom as well as ion. Atomic radius, covalent radius, metallic radius, ionic radius. So all these we have completed. So first periodic property over. Next periodic property is ionization energy. Ionization energy is also termed as ionization potential. It can also be called as ionization potential because we measure the energy in terms of potential, so that it is called ionization potential also. First, we have to know what is ionization process. The process of making an ion is called ionization. You consider sodium. I am giving energy to the sodium. The last electron is removed. It becomes a cation. This is called the ionization process. You take a neutral atom, energy is given, an electron is ejected from the neutral atom, it becomes a cation. So I have prepared an ion. This process is called ionization. For this ionization process, how much energy is given? It is called ionization energy. IE represents ionization energy. How much energy is given to convert a neutral atom into an ion? This is ionization energy. So the definition is the amount of energy required to remove the loosely bounded electron, that means last electron, to remove the loosely bounded electron from an isolated gaseous atom. What is the definition? Amount of energy required to remove the loosely bounded electron from an isolated gaseous atom. This is in a single atom in a gaseous phase. How much energy required? It is called ionization energy. If the first electron in the last cell is removed, it is called first ionization energy. IE1 is representing first ionization energy. So we remove the first electron from the valence cell. So general equation can be written as, we have a metal isolated gaseous atom, we provide energy, the first valence electron is removed, it becomes a cation. The energy supplied is called first ionization energy, and it can be expressed in terms of kilojoule per mole, or it can be expressed in terms of electron volts, right? So when we measure in terms of a potential, it is called ionization potential, right? Then first electron is removed from the univalent cation. What is the valency? 1 plus. From the monovalent or univalent cation, I am going to remove one more valence electron. For that, I am providing the energy. So again, energy is supplied for a monovalent cation to remove one more electron. It becomes a bivalent cation. The energy supplied is called the second ionization energy. From the bivalent cation, if one more electron is removed, the energy supplied is called third ionization energy. So it becomes a trivalent cation. So first ionization energy is the energy required for removing the loosely bounded first electron from the valence cell. From the monovalent cation, if we remove one more electron, the energy supplied is called the second ionization energy. The bivalent cation is converted into trivalent cation by removing an electron. For that, how much energy is given? It is called third ionization energy. So we can say successive ionization energies, first, second, third. And which value will be a larger value? We have first ionization energy, second ionization energy, third ionization energy, and so on. Which will be a higher value? For that, we can take magnesium as an example. We take magnesium, 12 electrons present, electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2. So 2 electrons present in the first cell, 8 electrons present in the second cell, and 2 electrons present in the third cell. If this electron is removed from the magnesium, the energy given is called first ionization energy. So 12 protons present inside the nucleus, 12 electrons present outside the nucleus. I am removing the last electron. The energy given is called first ionization energy. When this electron is removed, magnesium becomes a cation, Mg plus cation. So we have the magnesium. Energy is given, it becomes a cation with the ejection of an electron. From the magnesium cation, one more electron is removed. But this removal is not an easy process. Why? 12 protons present, but only 11 electrons present. So this attraction will be a stronger one. In neutral magnesium, 12 protons, 12 electrons present, but when you take a magnesium cation, only 11 electrons present, but number of protons inside the nucleus 12. So attraction will be more. So removing this electron will be difficult. Okay. So from magnesium cation, one more electron can be removed. So definitely second ionization energy value will be more. Now it becomes Mg2 plus cation. Now this Mg2 plus cation is highly stable in nature. Why? It attains the electronic configuration of neon. By losing 2 electrons, magnesium achieves the electronic configuration of neon. 2 electrons in the first cell, 8 electrons present in the second cell. So from the magnesium 2 plus cation, if you want to remove one more electron, this will be highly difficult. So removing an electron from the second cell is not an easy process. It attains the stable neon electronic configuration. So we have to provide more energy to remove one more electron from the stable Mg2 plus cation. So comparing second ionization energy, third ionization energy value will be more. Only 10 electrons present, but number of protons 12. So attraction will be more. So comparing first ionization energy, always second ionization energy value will be more. Comparing second ionization energy, always third ionization energy value will be more. And what about variation of ionization energy in modern periodic table? First, we consider the periods. What is the variation of ionization energy in the period? Consider second period elements: lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. Left to right, size decreases, isn't it? Atomic radius decreases. So electrons added in the same cell, atomic radius decreases, effective nuclear charge increases. left to right, effective nuclear charge increases because the shielding effect will not be predominant. Electrons added in the same cell, so shielding effect will not be predominant, so that effective nuclear charge will be increased. That means attractive force increases between the nucleus and the last electron. When you take the attraction between the nucleus and the last electron, left to right, it increases. That means ionization energy increases. Attractive force increases means we need more energy to remove the last electron. Okay. So atomic radius decreases from left to right, effective nuclear charge increases, so that between the proton and the last electron, or between the nucleus and the last electron, attractive force will be increased. So we need more energy to remove the last electron. So what is the general trend? Left to right, ionization energy increases. So the general trend is, comparing lithium, beryllium has more ionization energy. Comparing beryllium, boron has more ionization energy. So like that, left to right, ionization energy increases. This is general trend. But there are some exceptions based on the electronic configurations. Based on stable electronic configurations, there are exceptions. So these two are exceptions. Okay. So two exceptions are observed in the second period. Left to right ionization energy has to increase. So we expect boron should have more ionization energy, but it has less. Ionization energy of boron is 800 kilojoule per mole, but for beryllium 899 kilojoule per mole. So left to right energy has to increase, ionization energy has to increase. Then why there is a decrease in this case? For that, configuration is playing a major role. When you take beryllium with atomic number 4, it has completely filled electronic configuration. Beryllium has just 2 orbitals, both are completely filled. Boron with atomic number 5, electronic configuration 1s to 2s to 2p1. So boron is not having the completely filled electronic configuration. We know that half filled and completely filled electronic arrangement will lead to stability. Any atom with half filled or completely filled arrangement will be stable. So comparing beryllium, boron is not a stable one. So beryllium is a stable atom due to completely filled electronic arrangement. So this is not an easy task to remove an electron from this completely filled orbital. This electron can be removed easily. P electron can be removed. But removing an electron from the 2s orbital is not an easy one. So ionization energy will be more for beryllium. The same type of exception is observed in nitrogen as well as oxygen also. Nitrogen with atomic number 7, electronic configuration 1s to 2s to 2p3. 2p3 can also be written as 2px1, 2py1, 2pz1. We know that there are 3 types of p orbitals. Oxygen with atomic number 8, configuration 1s to 2s to 2p4. 2p4 can be written as 2px2, 2py1, 2pz1. So left to right ionization potential has to increase. Oxygen should have the more value, but the ionization energy of oxygen is 1314 kilojoule per mole. But for nitrogen, 1402 kilojoule per mole. So ionization energy of nitrogen is more than the oxygen. Okay, this is mainly due to half-filled electronic arrangement. So px orbital, py orbital, pz orbital having single electron. So half-filled arrangement will lead to stability. But here half-filled arrangement is not possible. One orbital is completely filled. So comparing nitrogen and oxygen, Half-filled arrangement is present only in nitrogen, so it is stable. It is not an easy one to remove the electron from the half-filled orbitals. Here we can remove the electrons easily, but electrons cannot be removed from the half-filled orbitals. So this is the variation of ionization potential in period. Then what about the variation of ionization potential in groups? Take first group, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium, like that we can take. So here atomic radius increases. Top to bottom in a group, atomic radius increases. When you take lithium, only 2 cells present. Sodium, totally there are 3 cells. Potassium, 4 cells. So electrons added in the next cell, number of cells are increased. When we move from top to bottom, number of cells are increased. 2 cells, 3 cells, 4 cells, 5 cells, 6 cells, totally 7 cells present in the francium. Number of cells are increasing, so atomic radius increases. So when you take lithium, attraction is present between the nucleus and the last electron. You take sodium, totally there are 3 cells. In sodium, we just observe the attraction between the nucleus and the last electron. So here this is 2s electron, this is 3s electron. Comparing lithium, sodium has larger atomic radius. Distance between the nucleus and the last electron increased, so definitely this attraction is not a stronger one. In lithium, 2s electron is closer to the nucleus. Distance between the nucleus and last electron is less, so attractive force will be predominant. But when we move from lithium to sodium, more cells are there. Distance between the nucleus and last electron is increased. That means this attraction will be reduced. If there is a less attraction between the nucleus and last electron, it can be easily removed. So we give less energy to remove the electron from sodium. 3s electron can be removed easily in sodium, but removing 2s electron in lithium is not an easy task. So top to bottom, ionization energy decreases. In period, it increases. In groups, it decreases. Okay. So these two parameters are inversely proportional. Atomic radius increases means ionization energy decreases. Atomic radius top to bottom increases, definitely ionization energy decreases. Left to right, atomic radius decreases, but ionization energy increases. So both are inversely proportional to each other. What about shielding effect in groups? In periods, I told already, electrons added in the same cell, shielding effect will not be a predominant one, so effective nuclear charge increases from left to right. In groups, shielding effect is predominant. When you take the 2s electron of lithium, the attraction between the nucleus and the 2s electron is shielded by 2 inner electrons. 2 electrons present in the first cell will shield. We take sodium. Comparing lithium, sodium has more shielding effect. So more inner electrons present, so shielding effect will be more in sodium, isn't it? The attraction between the 3s electron and the nucleus will be shielded by totally 10 inner electrons, 8 electrons in the second cell, 2 electrons in the first cell. Comparing this, number of inner electrons more, so shielding effect will be more. Top to bottom, shielding effect increases, definitely attraction will be less. Okay. So tomorrow we continue next periodic property, electron gain enthalpy. Thank you.